welcome to the House Brokerage Podcast. This is Open House. We are joined today by the legendary Kyle Draper. So for those of you that don't know Kyle, he is a coach. He is a marketing expert and so many more things. He's able to take his marketing expertise and work with lenders, realtors, entrepreneurs, and take their business to the next level. I've known Kyle for just a little bit, and since I've gotten to know him, he's made such an impact on my life and the business that I have with my wife, and we always look towards his content to be able to better ourselves in our marketing. So without further ado, Kyle Draper.
Wow.
Welcome to Open House.
Guys, thanks
for joining us, man.
Thank you for having me. I don't know how legendary this is going to be, but
No pressure.
Yeah.
a lot of pressure now.
No, you're definitely, you taught a class once for our team, and what we took from that class, I think I've taken more from that than anything else, social media wise, marketing wise, that I've ever looked at, paid for, anything. So I think you have this gift to kind of take this really abstract idea of like marketing, which so many people are like, I need to market myself. What does that look like?
Yeah.
And you're able to take this like really hardcore topic and make it tangible and bite-sized enough where it's like, even somebody like me who doesn't have a marketing bone in my body can tackle it. And I feel like it's doable. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think you're so gifted in that. I've seen some of the things that you do. You have some exciting stuff coming up that I definitely want to talk about and tell the world about. But yeah, I guess where we can start is tell us your story. Where'd you come from? How'd you get here?
Yeah, man. So none of this has happened on purpose, right? I spent my 20s as a youth pastor and really thought that I'd be a pastor my whole life. That was kind of the plan. And then one day I just was really frustrated about people when they found out I was a pastor. They were different. They acted weird. They weren't dropping F-bombs in front of me if they dropped them in front of others. They weren't telling me how hungover they were from the night before. And I was really frustrated because I wasn't getting the realness from people. And so, long story short, I left church ministry, moved to Oklahoma, started a roofing company, and that's where I learned how to sell. I learned how to do social media. I was on the roofs of houses doing Facebook Lives. Who does that?
Yeah.
Me. I did.
I'm just trying to do Facebook Live on the ground and having a hard time. So on a roof, man, that's awesome.
It was next level, and I'm super athletic, right? So that's what allows me to do that. I was going to go pro in every sport, but I decided ministry.
Same, yeah.
Like everybody. So from roofing, I started a company building websites for realtors. Through that season of life, I knew something was missing, and so I prayed and said, God, what am I good at? What do realtors suck at? And what does that look like? And what he gave me was, you're a good speaker, because I'd preached for a decade. Realtors suck at social media, so start teaching classes about social media to build rapport, earn their trust, and then you can kind of sneak in the back door and sell them a website. And that's what I did. And so 6 years ago, I started teaching classes. I probably taught 200 classes for free. Actually, this is like 8 years ago now. Every year it gets further and further away. And now I get to travel the country and do it for a living. And I just watch. I think marketing has perverted the way we see social media. And so we don't view it anymore as relationships. We just look at every single person as a lead, and then we treat them as such. And so I think that's why my approach is just a breath of fresh air to most people, because they've never heard it explained that way. And it's just unbelievable what happens when you do that. And I think a lot of that uniqueness comes in that I was a pastor. I'm not an expert of social media. Now people call me that, but I didn't pass a class or get a certificate. And so that's been a big part of it for me.
Yeah. And I feel like you having all that experience it kind of adds to that realism of like, you know what you're talking about. You've been there, you've done that.
Yeah.
I think it was a story you told whenever you're teaching our class that you were like doing those Facebook lives on the roof, and then your wife was like, "What is this? Why are you doing?" You know what I mean? Which
Yeah.
is how sometimes I feel, where I'll start something and then I'll be like, I'll have that thought in my head of, what am I doing here? Like,
Yeah.
I'm a 30-year-old man on Facebook Live trying to tell people what I'm doing in this house and get them to buy a house with me. I don't know, how does that correlate? Where's the end game here, right? And sometimes those things seem so fruitless. And I think a lot of agents might be in that spot of like, they're doing those marketing tactics, they're doing whatever they need to do, and they kind of have that thought in the back of their head, what am I doing here? Is this ever going to work? So for those kind of like agents who are in that process right now, maybe they don't have the routine down, maybe they're just getting started, they're doing their open houses on their Facebook Lives, all of that. What would be your advice to those agents who are kind of starting to doubt their capability or ability in the marketing social media platforms?
So that's a great question. The first thing I would say to them is, like, rethink the reason you're doing it. If everything we do is based on my ability to sell, I'm going to miss the humanity of all of those opportunities, right? And so a great way to look at it is, if you're different on social than you would be at coffee, you're doing it wrong. Because if you and I were at coffee, I'm not going to be like, dude, did you see my new listing? Look at these photos. Can you believe that? Wow. But we do it on Facebook or Instagram because there's no risk of you going, I don't want to be your friend anymore. Or like, I don't go, oh, did you see my 3 closings last week? Look at this is the Smiths. This is the Glens. This is the. So if we would just decide, like, my new litmus test is, would I say this at coffee? If I wouldn't, then I'm not going to put it on social media unless I change it to a way that I would do it at coffee.
Yeah.
And so that's a big piece to this, is the mindset shift has to happen. But then the second shift, and this is one of my favorite shifts, it's, I treat social media as if I am preparing the table for who's coming to dinner tomorrow. That's the way I look at it. So I don't ever go, what video will bring me the most leads today? If that's the question, it's super selfish. You will be selfish in the attempt to do that. And then all your people will see it right through it and be like, nope, deleted, right? So I'm always setting the stage for who's coming tomorrow. And so I'm not concerned with views. I'm not concerned with virality. I'm simply putting out content that I believe will make an impact in the people that see it. So we could now go, are home tours the best suited content for that? Not if that's all you do, right? And then you mentioned Facebook Live, but then Bryce, you are now doing a great job with like short tours on like Reels, right?
Thank you. That means no.
They're great, right? I think they're great.
I'm trying.
And so, be aware that now I don't have 5 minutes to watch your Facebook Live of a home.
Right.
I remember years ago, my parents, they sold their house and it was 12,000 square feet. And I did a Facebook Live tour of it to try to help. And it was like a 24-minute tour.
Just to get through the house.
Just to get through the house.
Uh-huh.
But now 5 years ago, that was a little bit more acceptable because TikTok didn't exist, which has now caused all of us to go, we now have the capacity of a goldfish to remember anything, right? And so they should be reconsidering the way that they're doing those tours to make them faster, more engaging, adding personality, right? Those sorts of things. But we've got to stay focused on like what serves the people we're trying to reach. So if I do this home tour, I'm going to do my best to not be salesy in it. and to let my personality shine through so that people, worst case, can be entertained while I'm showcasing the property.
Right.
So
I think that what I would say about you, Kyle, is just how authentic you are. And I think that's kind of the crux of what I'm hearing kind of you say, but also from who I know you to be.
Yeah.
Is you are the same right now on camera as you are 10 minutes ago before we started this.
Yeah.
And not just in social media or in real estate is that important, but you know, you mentioned being in ministry.
Yeah.
And, you know, and so how many times do we know someone who might be in leadership within a church or within other organizations and stuff, and they're a different person,
Right.
you know, off of the camera and everything. So for you, just to be that authentic guy that you are, that's why I love you personally so much,
Yeah.
because I know that you're the real deal.
Definitely.
And you can see that in meeting him one time before or knowing him for a while. And so, you know, that's just who I know you to be. I have a question kind of about, so like for me, just as a personal question, there's probably others that might struggle with this too.
Yeah.
But like, I think I'm pretty easygoing. Like, you know, I love to be at coffee with people and talk to them. One, I love to talk about myself, so I have to always think about,
Sure.
I need to, you know, to get to know them and not just talk about myself. So that's a struggle that I'm aware of, that I'm always working on, I'm cognizant of. But I also find that when the camera turns on, I'm like, who am I? Like, I'm frozen. My personality, like you talk about letting your personality come out. For me, something happens where I'm like really serious right now. And my wife points it out to me. She's like, why are you so serious on that video? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm not trying to be. So this is, you know, just a personal thing, like I said, but I think there's others that might struggle with it too. It's like that camera turns on, I just kind of lost my personality. Any tips, anything off the top that, I mean, we're basically getting free coaching right now.
Yeah.
So we're like, you know, so that's kind of what we're doing in this, I guess. But
I think you're right. Everyone struggles with this. I still struggle with this, right? Like, so sadly, the greatest advice is with repetition. I think that gets better.
yeah.
You know, I've now, I mean, gosh, I've spoke in front of people thousands of times. I've now done thousands of videos. And so I can say now that, are there nerves? Yes, but it's not because of that, right? I can just turn the camera on and go because it's as common to me as breathing, right?
Yeah.
It's that, I mean, it's that easy for me. And so that's not good advice for most people, because all that means is, so I have to suck for how much longer? Mm-hmm. I have to be uncomfortable for how much longer? And so that is always a big piece of it. I think the second piece is to just become accepting of who you are. Mm-hmm. So for me, if you hear me speak, I'm really funny. If you watch my videos, I'm really not that funny, because my humor is based on wittiness and like reading a moment and then saying something off the cuff. Mm-hmm. I'm not a joke teller. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like I look like two different people if you hear me speak and then watch my videos. And that gave me a complex for a long time. And then I would try to be funny on purpose and like work in humor, because that, until finally I just had to go, it is what it is. Like, my style of humor doesn't come in through video very well. Mm-hmm. Who cares, right? It's fine. Keep going. I will say, Bryce, don't let your wife watch your videos anymore. and it sounds funny, right? It's crazy that this is like one of my biggest breakthroughs ever. But obviously, as a happily married man, as all three of us are, there's no one we cherish more on this earth than our wives. And so, I always wanted her validation the most when it came to my videos. But who also has the ability to be the most critical of us? The one person that loves us the most unconditionally, right? And so I would do a video and I'd be like, oh my gosh, honey, I think I crushed this. Like, will you watch it? And she'd be like, yeah, that's It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
And I'm like having a complex in the corner now, going, what do you mean it's fine? What does fine mean? I can't be fine. I'm Kyle Draper. And she would be so mad, right? And hopefully I'm speaking to the choir. And then now she's going, you asked me to watch. You asked me for feedback. And so literally 4 years ago, I don't even know how I got here, but I walked in the living room. I was like, hey, honey, guess what? I'm never going to ask you to watch another one of my videos ever again. And her response was, thank God. I hate it. She has not watched a single video of mine in 4 years. And that is when my confidence took off, because I also had to realize she's not my ideal audience. Like, she can't hire me to speak. She's not going to hire me to coach her. And so why does her opinion matter about that thing? And the answer is it doesn't. And so I would encourage anybody that listens to this, like, check the source of where you're allowing criticism to come from, because just because it comes from people we love, it doesn't mean it's valid criticism. My wife doesn't have a freaking clue how to do a video. So why am I letting her validate or remove that validation? And so I think, like, y'all get some comments at some point of like husbands that were like, we were about to get divorced and now we actually love each other because I was forcing my spouse to grade me, and it sucks.
And that's what so it wasn't, just to clarify in case she is watching.
Hi, honey.
Hi, honey. That I was I'm more so forcing her to watch it to then get that. She's not just coming in the room and saying, hey, babe, I just saw this sucks. Right. It's not that. It's me, like, asking her for that. And then she's just being authentic and honest and being like, I wish that you were smiling like you you should normally be, and stuff. But, so that's good. That's helpful for sure. And I think for me, it is just the repetition thing. Though sometimes I feel like maybe it's her and my parents and only a few others that are watching, but I am, I'm putting out that content, and honestly, it's because of the relationship and knowing you. So when I post something, I'm like, what? It's like that WWKD, what would Kyle think or whatever, because you are in my head a little bit because I have so much respect for you and for what you've done.
So let's talk about this part for a sec. Even though you just jokingly said, I think it's only like my parents and my wife that actually watch any of this. Well, your videos get more than 4 views, right? So obviously that's not true. But we're all stuck here. And so one of the things that I came up with, that I don't know if I came up with it, but I started teaching, was what I call the shadows of social media. Right? The shadows are, you do a video, it has 150 views. The only 2 comments are your wife and your mom. And you're like, what am I doing? What am I doing? In that moment, the reality still is that 148 other people watched enough of that video to be considered a view. They just don't want you to know that they're there. And so now, as I've grown and now I get to travel the country and speak, and so I run into people every week that are like, dude, I'm so pumped that you're here. I watch all your videos. And I know who likes my stuff. Like, I know who comments regularly. And they all say, I don't ever like anything, but I just watch. Right? So I call these are the shadow people, the lurkers, that they're watching you. They now know that you've started a new real estate brokerage, and they know that if I ask you a question, now I'm going to end up on some lead form somewhere and get hit up multiple times, right? And so what I've come into agreement with is the shadow people remain in the shadows until they come out into the light. And usually when they come into the light, it is with their money. Right? So you have people, they're going to watch you for the next year. You'll never know they're there. So if you'll fight through discouragement, not just keep going, but lean in and do more, people just start coming out of the woodworks going, we're ready to come over to house. And you'll be like, wait, what? We don't need to like court each other. We don't need to song and dance. Like I don't need to show you our CRM, and I don't need to show. No, we're ready. Because you've given them a year to trust you, to learn you, to hear your stories, to feel your heart, to see your energy. And it happens to me all the time. Even while I'm like, man, this sucks. Nobody's paying attention. They are. So keep going.
Thank you. Something else that you've said about kind of that viewership that I've heard that really resonated with me before is the thing about like when you have that 30 or 40 viewer and you're like, like you're seeing people that get thousands of views and then you're like,
Yeah.
I have 30 people that just watched this video. And then what you've said that I've heard you say several times is that if you had a room full of 30 people and you were able to teach this class to 30 people, that'd be a huge success. You have 30 people in this room, so the thought of, how video can reach people, and it's not about thinking that comparison to those huge viewership, but like 30 people is a lot of people to say something to. So that really resonated a lot with me as well.
Yeah, because you think, and I know every line of work's different, but we're going to talk about, right, like real estate. When the average agent in Texas sells, 4.5 houses a year, something like that, we start calling realtors successful at probably 20 houses. Like you're doing a pretty good job if you're selling 20 houses a year. So when we keep it in perspective of a view is a person, and so 30 views, that's a third more people than you even need to sell 20 houses.
Yeah.
But we've allowed the digital world to kind of pervert the way we see this. We have all these, TikTokers and influencers. I freaking hate when people are like, oh, I'm an influencer. But we have all these people, right, that are like, I can teach you how to go viral. I can teach you how to get 10,000 followers. I can teach you how to. And if we really boil it down, if you would just put 100 really good friends on your Instagram and do life with them and in front of them, you're going to sell way more houses than you ever will if you go find out how to get to 50,000 followers of people from all over the planet that will never be in North Texas buying a property. And so we've got to just take a step back, right? And I have to do this. I need 3 new clients this month. So 100 views here, 200 views there, 300 views there. Is that more than 3? 100% it is. And it's a constant reminder. Because selfishly, when you have my COO of my company, she did the stupidest reel ever a month ago. I mean, stupid doesn't even begin to describe it. It's at almost 700,000 views.
Wow.
She doesn't even talk in it. You know what every realtor is going to do? Crystal, how'd you get that Because we need that validation to feel good about ourselves. They're not going to ask her, how much business did you get from that? 0.
Yeah.
How many people watch that actually live in your city? Very close to 0. And so we gotta keep coming back to, am I doing social media for the validation of others, or am I doing social media to create value for others?
That's good.
And that's, that's what I do. And I still believe that one day Oprah or Tony Robbins, like somebody's going to find out about Coach Kyle, and they're going to go, where's this dude been? Look at all this stuff. And I'm going to pop off and be famous. And then what's everybody going to say? How'd you get famous? Nobody wants the answer of, 15 years ago, I started doing video every single day. Ugh.
It's that constant grind.
But that's what it takes.
Yeah. Same as real estate.
100%.
Yeah. Same as, I guess, everything. But
Isn't he?
Yeah.
Right? Like, as a big guy, I can go around asking all my skinny friends, like, man, what are you doing to to be in shape. You know what they're going to be? They're going to be like, well, I don't eat cheeseburgers. I'm like, dang it, that sucks. I love cheeseburgers. I go to the gym. Dang it, I don't want to go. Like, we love to keep asking questions based on the things we're bad at in hopes that someone will say something that validates why I'm bad at it. But if we're good husbands, being a good husband isn't rocket science. I try to outserve my wife. I try to do more for her than she does for me, right? It's not, oh, wow, that's incredible. I've never heard about that. I've never thought about that before. And so we just love making excuses for what we're bad at instead of leaning into that discomfort.
Yeah.
Knowing that breakthrough is at the other side of that.
Yeah. So talking about leaning into the discomfort for all the people watching and listening, when you say, they're like, all right, let's go. Let's lean in. Let's make a change. Let's be different. I want to take my business to that next level. I want to start, really executing on this. Obviously that's a journey.
Yeah.
it's many steps, not one, but I feel often that whenever I'm looking at something that is like a mountain as this is, taking that first step kind of helps perpetuate me going and going and going. What is the first step? How do you get started? Do you go buy the $10,000 camera, or do you take your phone out and just record a video? What would you say to those people who are like, I'm ready to go?
I would say if your first step is a $10,000 camera, pick me one. Pick up one for me while you're out there. Because I'm still using my iPhone 13. And so my first step would be do a 10-day video challenge with yourself, and don't post any of them. Because that will instantly take your fear down a level. Because our fear, right, is not in doing the video. Our fear is in the receiving of the video by the people that see it. Mm-hmm. And so we're growing at video every time we actually do a video, not every time we post a video. So I would be very intentional about, I'm going to do video 10 days in a row, minimum of 60 seconds per video, so that I can just get accustomed to seeing myself on camera, hearing myself talk, coming up with different things to talk about. And you'll be blown away at how much more comfortable you feel just in 10 days. Because think about what most realtors do. If they do video, maybe they do a couple videos a month. So in a year's time, they gave themselves 24 chances to get good at something. You can't get good at something in 24 chances. And so you can shorten that curve by even going, for the next 30 days, I'm going to do a video every day. What about anything? Delete it afterwards. Who cares? Right? Just begin to work that muscle. So that would be the first thing that I would say. Then I would say to start with long form content, because long form content, similar to the way we're doing this podcast, right? Us doing a podcast allows us to feel the least weird. But if I walk in here and I'm like, bro, ready? Be smart for 60 seconds, go. Mm-hmm. I mean, well, what?
Yeah.
What do you want me to say? What are we going to talk? Well, for all the people listening that they only do short content, basically they're forcing themselves to be an actor every time. That's not real, right? We perform for 60 seconds. You perform when you're doing those house tours, and we can say we're not. And that's true, but there's still a level of performance, right? I'm different standing on a stage, like energy-wise, than sitting in this room for a podcast. Mm-hmm. And so in long-form content, especially in real estate and like mortgage, where it's so much based around education, I can be so much more comfortable for 7 minutes educating on a topic, because that should be my sweet spot. So I would get good at educating into the camera for 5 to 7 minutes at a time. That is now able to be on YouTube, second largest search engine in the world. We go there to learn, so we want longer videos on YouTube because we're there to invest. And then we take that 5 to 7 minute video, and now you go chop it up, and you'll have a 33-second reel. You'll have a 47-second TikTok. And so from 7 minutes of effort, you can end up with 5 or 6 different pieces of content that then can go in every aspect of all the different platforms. And that's my favorite way to kind of tippy toe in, because to go in the other way, like let's go be creative on TikTok and let's pick trending sounds and let's do some dances and there's so much editing involved in that unless that's you're gifted at that, like I suck at all of that stuff. I'm horrible at it. And so I just chose that I'm going to go a different direction because I love to educate and speak directly to people. And so I get to crush stuff so much faster than the person that has to spend an hour like piecing together every piece of that TikTok.
Yeah.
You know? So that's the way that I would encourage somebody to kind of come in.
Okay. Yeah. I feel like that definitely helps get you to that level. In terms of, I guess, if you were to look at my feed right now, you would cringe so hard, and I can already tell you that. It just would be horrible. What are some of the things that you would say to avoid for the newer agents, or not new agents, but agents getting into the marketing, really saying, hey, I'm going to take this next level? For example, you've already said this. If you look at my Instagram feed right now, all it is here's my listing. Here's, I sold this here. This is under contract. Here's, the closing I have right now. And so if you were to go look at what I have, it is very much, wow, look, Matt's showing these highlights of his business, but there's no real content there. Yeah. It's just it looks very superficial.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I love partnering with my agents or with my clients, working with them, building those relationships, but none of my content shows that.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that we should avoid, whether you're an agent, entrepreneur, lender, just wanting to put the marketing out there?
Yeah. I don't think there's as many things that you should avoid as much as it is there should be things you add in. So I don't think closing photos are bad, but if that's all you have, that's bad.
Yeah.
Right? If you're going to do a closing photo, don't just say, thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, for letting me help you buy your house. Like, tell the story of what you helped them solve. Tell the story of what you overcame for them to get to the closing table, right? Like, make it more interesting than just 7 words, and a couple emojis. It's all about, to me, like the question that I ask myself is, does what I'm about to post cause somebody to trust me more or less? That's it. That's all I care about. And so, avoid content that doesn't breed trust. Bragging doesn't breed trust. Showboating doesn't breed trust. Narcissism doesn't breed trust. And we happen to work in the most narcissistic industry in the world. Like, have you ever asked yourself, like, why don't other industries like shout their numbers from the rooftops the way realtors do? Like, I don't have dentist friends that are like, guess what, guys? We cleaned 198 sets of teeth last month. Like, no one does this. And to me, there should be a little bit more hesitation when no one is following versus, well, we're just different. And you are different because you're more narcissistic than anyone on the planet. And so I think we've got to avoid content that offers zero value, right? Zero value. That's more important than anything. The other thing to avoid would be like just putting up pictures of houses. Mm-hmm. Nobody woke up today going, oh, I can't wait to see Matt's pictures of the houses that he has. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Right? And so something else to avoid, like, don't have 2 Instagram accounts. Nobody wants to follow a real estate account. Nobody cares. I want to follow a human being that happens to do real estate. So I'm going to see you and your wife on date night. I'm going to see the kids. We're going to see the cool bus that the van that you guys bought the other day. Right? Like, I can celebrate you as a human as you kind of work in some content of, hey, here's a reel from one of our homes that we've just listed. It's the culmination of all of that stuff. Because what's fascinating, if I can tell a story I don't know if y'all saw it, but like 2 weeks ago, I did a video without a shirt on.
I saw it.
Yeah.
And
I remember it.
I remember
and I
it,
always
yeah.
will. That's the point. I
you
guess.
know, like I kept it PG. There was no nipples in there, and it wasn't super awkward. It felt super awkward, but my wife was mortified because I
She's
told
watching.
her.
She's
I
watching.
told
That's
her
the
what
problem.
she wasn't watching.
I'm just kidding.
I hadn't even posted yet,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Hey, guess what? I just recorded a video with my shirt off," and she was like, "What? Why would you do that?" Right? And so I did this video, and the whole point of the video, right, was like we take this too seriously. People want you to be like we want to hang out with people we like. We don't want to hang out with people that all they want to talk about are numbers and data and and so I did this video. The feedback on it has been unbelievable. So much so that this week I was in Oklahoma speaking, and I kid you not, at least 10 people came up to me in some variation and were like, "Are you going to keep your shirt on today?" or at the end, they were like, "Man, I'm so glad you kept your shirt on today." And then I was in Atlanta like 3 days after I did the video. And in an LO, I do not know, a lender came up to me and he was like, "Hey, I just want you to know, any big guy that can do a video with his shirt off, bro, you got so much confidence and I can roll with you." That's not why I did it. But it was playful and stupid and silly. It's my personality, right? I do things all the time that my wife hates. So if I'm not also doing videos that she hates, I'm not being myself. And I'm blown away. Like now I feel like I need to do at least a video a month with my shirt off just to kind of keep that trend in front of people. Because that's what they're remembering. Nobody's going to come up to you in Target and be like, "Bryce, man, that 123 Main Street reel that you did the other day, it was incredible."
Yeah.
I have weeped over it multiple times. Yeah. That doesn't mean we don't do it, but that will never be the content that people remember. And so we got to get deeper, right? Like that's, so something, what else are we avoiding? Surface level stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's not what we would do in like, what were we talking about before we started the podcast? Deep stuff, right? Like we're talking about real life things because we're real life people that care about one another. Why can't we be better about letting that be the way people feel about us when they see us online?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. No, I feel like that's definitely, you get online and you feel like, as you said, you become this different person. And so like online Matt is not the same person as, in real life Matt. And I often find myself personally being like, maybe that's too much. Maybe that's too real. And maybe I don't want to put that forward,
Sure.
And so how do you kind of combat that feeling of, at least for me, if I show who I really am, like, will they like me? Will they accept me? Because I feel like that's kind of the thing we're running up against is we want that acceptance. We want people to like us, to genuinely like our content.
Sure.
Like you had said, don't watch the views. I'm, if I post something, I'm refreshing 10 times, seeing the likes to see how many, okay, this one's doing good. This is good content. I'm going to keep this up. And so what would you say is like the first step in being yourself and kind of getting over will they like me?
Sure. So the most practical advice is put yourself in environments where you're the most authentic version of yourself. So for example, if you're struggling with this, any video that you do, like with a ring light, with a good microphone in your office, you're always going to struggle. So like go home and just sit on your back porch and pull your phone out. Right? Like have a beer if you drink a beer, have a cup of coffee if you're drinking coffee. Like put yourself in the most normal environment, but then do a video about business. Mm-hmm. Because isn't that how like we sat over here before we started talking about the new brokerage, talking about my new coaching program, and neither one of us were trying to convince the other person to give the other person money. We're talking like friends. Right? We're both proud of what we're doing. And so we're capable of also doing that on the internet. Right? So that's what some of my favorite videos are the few times that I do exercise and I'm on a walk, like that happens to be when the best ideas hit my brain. And so, boom, I jump on camera while I'm sweating. I'm so exhausted, I don't have time to think about all the insecurities that would consume my mind if I was in a more professional environment.
Right.
Right? And so that's the very practical advice. The other thing I would say is this. I don't believe it's my place anymore to like tell you how authentic you should be, because there's a guy I know, he's a realtor, and he's the most authentic person I've ever seen on the internet. So much so that like he will announce that he's like, 984 days sober from pornography. Like that's a post he puts on Facebook. Right? He'll say that he's now 384 days free of alcohol. And I could go, bro, that's kind of a lot. In less than 2 years, he's one of the biggest realtors in his city. He's crushing everyone. And I believe that for him, it's coming because he's truly willing to be as vulnerable as you can be in spite of potential criticism. And the right people are digging that,
I think that's what it is too, I think so many times we want to reach everyone. And so, finding those niche, things that we can do, or just not even necessarily finding one niche, but just being like, I'm just going to be who I am, and I'm going to attract the people that honestly that I want to work with, because if they're attracted to work with me, they're not worried about, whatever they might need to be worried about with me. They're already drawn to me. That's good.
Wouldn't you want, like, there's probably like uber professional realtors out there that I am not their cup of tea. They're going to see that video with my shirt off and instantly be like, nah, I want that. As opposed to stay in the middle so that then I have to waste going through the motions with them to then them realize I'm not a good fit.
Right. Yeah.
I'd rather you know that from the beginning, or be drawn to me from the beginning, because somebody sees like your new like bus that you got and they've always wanted one, and y'all's relationship just went way up here because of that one thing.
Because I give free rides to clients, too, on the
Free
way to
rides in
showings.
the bus.
I'm just kidding.
Right?
Yeah.
That's real life.
Yeah.
When I speak in new places and I just briefly say, I used to be a pastor, turned into a roofer, then built websites for realtors, and now I'm a social media person. In 10 seconds, I gave people the chance to go, wait, what? You used to be a what? And that's so much more enticing than just, I'm a social media expert and you should listen to what I say. Most realtors lead with being a realtor, and that's all you've ever done in your whole life is the way you make it sound. But the fact that like when we had lunch for the very first time, what do we talk about most of the time? The way we were burned in ministry, probably, because we'd both been in ministry. And so it drew us together so much faster than like, tell me about real estate. Tell me about marketing.
Yeah.
That's the content we got to figure out how to get onto the internet, in my opinion.
Yeah. So all three of us were formerly pastors,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. Definitely.
So I was thinking about something. You are obviously well past the point of needing validation from likes and from viewership and all that. So let's talk about when you go speak in front of a room and you have hundreds of realtors, do you have some form of validation that you look for from them? Or are you like, hey, this team that I went and talked to, I really wish that they were implementing what we talked about. Is that a thing for you at all? Or are you like, I'm going to do what I know that I need to do and just kind of do your best, God will do the rest kind of thing, speaking of ministry. But what does that look like for you?
I am always trying to be better. I don't ever feel I think the moment we think we've arrived is the moment we no longer arrive. And so what I do now is I throw a QR code up on the screen at the end of every time I speak. And it's not I want to sell you some stuff, so please give me your information. I send them to a how did I do form so that they can rate me as a speaker. They can give me additional feedback. Most of the time, that's always good feedback, but I've had a few criticisms that at first I'm like, oh, that was painful. Why do I even ask this question? But as I took them to heart, right, it allows me to grow, get a little bit better at what I do. And so that's the main thing that I do. But as I keep going, I'm also looking at, like, you can tell me that you think I'm awesome, but if my awesomeness isn't causing you to take action, then I'm not as awesome as you say that I am. Mm-hmm. And so now, because I know I'm an incredible communicator, like, I already know that, right? It has to go from just being a good talker to being able to instill the desire for someone to change. And so, you know, when you guys both say, like, my life is different because of our interactions, I'm doing video because of our time spent together, that's the validation that I need. Mm-hmm. Like, when I was in Atlanta, there was a girl there, and you could tell that she was pretty arrogant with the way she answered a question early on in my talk, and come to find out afterwards that she told the leader that brought me in, she looked me up and she was like, "Why'd you bring him in? I have way more followers than he does." Like, that was, like, her reason for believing she was better than me was simply because her follower count was higher than mine. And so for me, like, that matters jack crap to me. I have no desire. Like, I want as many followers as people want value from what I do, right? Whether that's 3,000, 10,000, a million, whatever. And so it's more in, can I get people around me to actually take action? And man, if I can get you to be uncomfortable, like, I'm doing something right. And so that's,
yeah, I'm sure you have a lot of those proud papa moments when you go speak to that brokerage and then you see them, you know, taking action, and people that didn't do video. And I mean, obviously that's how it's been with me, with having a team and now having the brokerage. Like, my favorite thing is to see people, you know, just take that action. And honestly, my favorite thing last year is that one of our team members passed me in production.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I want everybody to do that, you know, and stuff, because it's one of those things where then it allows you to scale and to grow. And it's been from things like that we've been able to now, you know, start this brokerage and stuff. So speaking of the brokerage, like, obviously for us, like, we have been, you know, well, I'll just say for me, I was a solo agent, and then after a couple of years started a team. And then after a couple of years of that, now we've started a brokerage. And every step of the way, marketing looks a little bit differently, right? Yeah. And so as a solo agent, it's all about, like, this is what I'm listing, this is what I'm, you know, posting about, this is my new thing. And then with the team, then it's like highlighting those team members and talking about, you know, about what they're doing and stuff. And then now with the brokerage, it's a kind of a different marketing because, you know, for the brokerage, our client now is no longer people that are buying and selling houses. Right. It's agents that want to be a part of what we've created, what we're doing. So do you think that in marketing that it's something that's like super important to be like knowing your audience obviously is important, you know, but how much different does marketing need to be when you're talking about different audiences and stuff? I guess, is that, I don't know if that's the right way to say it.
Yeah. So because we can just talk specifically about house brokerage. Yes. I would look at it way less about marketing and way more about, like, culture representation. Mm-hmm. Right. So if I were coaching you guys on how to just put yourselves out there, I would be looking at who are the different people we have inside of the company now that represent what we're proud of as house brokerage. And we're going to tap them on the shoulder and say, hey, once a month, I want you to do a video about leadership. Hey, once a month, I want you to do a video about technology. Hey, once a month, I want you to do a video about rebuttals and how to overcome when people are like, I don't know, we're not, you know, and then, man, everybody loves you. I want you once a month to do a quick video about just how to love people. Mm-hmm. right? I want you are the most disciplined person in this office. I want you to do a video once a month about morning routine and what that looks like. And now you begin to piece all that together. And what does every other realtor in Dallas-Fort Worth do? They want to be in proximity to that, right? And so I don't need to go, come to my brokerage, come to my brokerage.
Yeah.
That's what sucky people do. The good ones know that if we just embody our goodness and we put it out there for other people to experience, they're going to want more of it, right? Like look at comedians. Like I love following different comedians on TikTok. They don't save their good jokes for the show. They're doing they're showcasing those jokes all over their social media. And why do we go to their show? Because I want to freaking watch Bert Kreisner, however you say his last name. I want to watch him take his shirt off in real life.
Right. Yeah.
Like I don't not go to the show because I'm like, well, I know what he's going to do. Because they're so good at giving it all away, it makes us want it more. But in our industry, we've been taught like, dude, keep your secrets. Man, keep them tight.
That's
right?
like convicting.
Yeah.
That's so good. I think like my favorite movies are the movies I've seen a million times.
Of course.
My favorite songs are Phil Collins. I mean, I just, or just like the songs that I've heard a million times and I know so well. That's what I want to listen to. And then I think I tend to be like, well, it's not time to announce that yet. Or it's always like this strategy, but it's really just like, let's be authentic. Let's be real.
Show the culture. Yeah.
And I think what we have done in the brokerage is we have surrounded ourselves with this amazing talent, this amazing leadership. I mean, I told you about like we have our 5 national directors that are over. And I mean, here we are, in DFW now we're out to Abilene and Decatur markets as well. But we've really built this with the idea that we're going to take this nationally. And so we have this board of directors that have director of education, operations here in the room, and then sales and compliance and
Marketing.
Marketing.
Over here.
And but we're not really doing it. We haven't really highlighted that yet. I mean, we are a month in. We're kind of learning to fly as we go and everything. But I think that highlighting all of that, and I love the idea. And to those of you that are at house, I hope you hear the part of having those monthly videos and stuff, because that's something I think we need to take some action on. That's really good.
Yeah.
Well, and if I can pick on you,
please
for
do.
a minute,
Please, I love it.
right? Like, and this isn't anything you don't know. This is just me kicking your butt to get you there. Like, maybe the reason later will be outside of you, but right now, you are a big reason people are coming here. Whether it feels like that or not, right? Like that's why people are here. That's why some chose to come with you. And that's why people will continue to come. And so you have to do the hard work. This is what I'm still trying to figure out in myself. What do people love about me that I may not even know how to externalize, other than just when you're with me, it just oozes out of me. And then we've got to begin to be that on camera for people that don't know me yet. And that's what's been really hard for me, is like me getting to that point. Like that's not sexy content. That's not trending content. That content will never get the views, but it's there for when people finally find out about us and go, man, he's different. Like there's something about her. I can't tell what it is. Like I can't put my finger on it, but like I want to be closer to that person. And so if all you are is like I just do cool videos of houses, you're robbing people of what you bring to the table, which you may not know yet. You just know that proximity matters. And so being on camera and telling stories that get beyond real estate, and telling the story of the realtor that called yesterday that was about to quit, and something you said encouraged her to stay, and then regurgitating that story online, that's to me like your next level.
That's good.
Yeah. So you had talked a lot about. We've talked about a lot of things today, obviously.
Yeah.
We have a lot of, you have a lot of exciting things coming down the pipeline. One of the things that I wanted to ask you about is obviously there's one of you and thousands of realtors who are looking for this kind of help and want to take their business to the next level with that. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about coaching and some coaching opportunities that I think you might have coming up. So do you want to kind of talk a little bit about that?
I will, yes. So I've taken like a 2-year break from coaching. I literally, without realizing it, I ended 2019 with like 42 coaching clients and was like, man, this sucks, right? It was so consuming of all my energy. So of course I got rid of all of them right before COVID, which was super smart. And so I haven't coached since December of 2019. And so sometime next month, I'm not ready to put a date on it yet, but I've got a new coaching company that's launching called Academy 18. And this is the first time I've spoke of it publicly to anybody.
Hey, wow. We didn't know we were going to get the big announcement on our podcast.
We did not know. So the Academy 18 is, I've always heard people say that, the most important distance traveled is the 18 inches from your head to your heart. Mm. And so the premise for me was anyone can teach you marketing, but until you take that and turn it inward and it becomes an overflow of the heart you have to serve people, it's just knowledge that will always be leveraged poorly in front of others. And so my program is going to be all about like teaching you the basics of marketing, helping you get better, but also helping you realize that the superpower, the supercharge is that when you go from just being a good realtor to also being a great person. And so it'll have a coaching program in it. It'll have, live trainings every week. It's going to really give people proximity to me, which is what a lot of people have been asking for lately. And I'm super pumped about it.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to see all of that. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest needs, that when people talk about, I need help, I need coaching, having something like that. And I love that it's about not necessarily just, hey, here's the content, but also like, here's how this impacts your life. You know, real estate's one of those businesses that it really is. You carry it with you everywhere you go. You bring it home with you. You wake up with it. You go to sleep with it. And so I think that's such a masterful way of handling that as well, is like, hey, this is more than just your business. And that to me speaks volumes.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm pumped about it.
Sign me up.
It might suck. We're about to find out.
No, you have the things that you've done, at least in my life, and I know Bryce's as well. I mean, even Bryce and I attended your podcast class. You did a podcast class before we even launched this. And that was one of the things that, Bryce and I had always talked about starting a podcast. We've always talked about starting a podcast. And then we went to your class and it was like, oh, we can do this. It made it that tangible bite-sized thing that allowed us the confidence, I guess, to do what we're doing right now. And so for me, I mean, even that alone, but also multiple things that I've just learned from you. In the short time that I've known you, I will even now be eternally grateful. So thank you.
Thank you, man.
For everything, yeah.
Let's shout out Phil Treadwell. He was a big piece to that podcast. He's way cooler than me.
You guys have both checked in on me to see how it's going and stuff. And I'm like, what's coming together and stuff. And we've been, so I guess being in this room, seeing the microphones, I mean, how are we doing? How's the podcast? How has it been being on the podcast?
Y'all have a way cooler setup than I have on my podcast. So I'm very impressed.
But it's all about the content is what really matters. And you're bringing the heat with the content. So thank you for.
And that's the beauty of, like, if you want to do it well, make it not about you and bring on good people that won't make it about them. And you'll have a great conversation that's about everybody else.
Awesome.
So y'all are crushing it.
Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Well, we're super excited. This is the legendary Kyle Draper. Kyle, tell the people where they can find you.
Well, the legend that is myself is Coach Kyle Draper on all things social media.
Perfect.
You can go to kyledraper.com. Any of those places will find me.
Great. Yeah. Be on the lookout for Academy 18. And Kyle, thanks so much. Everybody,
Thanks, Kyle.
We'll see you next week.